Today's story is anything but normal. Imagine someone staying in a coma for 17 years and then waking up claiming they didn't spend those years in a hospital but in another world. Everyone thinks he's gone crazy, until he casually shows real magic and leaves everyone speechless. So let's find out what really happened to this uncle during those 17 years. Uncle from Another World, Episode 1. The story begins with a young man visiting his uncle in the hospital after a very long time. His uncle had been in a coma ever since a truck accident 17 years ago. Everyone believed he would never wake up. But against all odds, he suddenly opens his eyes. As soon as his nephew meets him, the uncle begins speaking in a language no one can understand. The nephew thinks the long coma must have affected his mind because nothing he's saying makes any sense. A few moments later, the uncle suddenly apologizes and says he just remembered that people here speak Japanese. Then he says something that completely shocks his nephew. According to him, he didn't spend the last 17 years asleep. He spent them living in another world and has only just returned. Just then, a nurse enters the room to check his condition. The uncle starts speaking that strange language again, but the nurse ignores him, finishes her work, and walks away. Once they're alone, the uncle recognizes his nephew. The nephew explains that after the accident, the family fell apart and even his mother stopped coming to visit him. Hearing this, the uncle quietly writes something in his notebook. Then he says that if his nephew doesn't believe him, he can prove everything. The nephew assumes it's all a joke. The uncle tries casting a few spells, but nothing happens at first, making the situation even more awkward. Then the uncle tries another spell. Suddenly, the cup and bottle on the table begin floating in the air. The nephew is completely stunned. A few seconds later, the uncle casts another spell, and everything returns to normal. Now the nephew finally realizes his uncle has been telling the truth. He immediately tears up the papers that said his uncle would have to pay for all his own expenses. After that, the uncle asks about the old gaming company Sega. When his nephew tells him the company is long gone, darn, the uncle is so heartbroken that he literally uses magic to erase that painful memory. The uncle then starts talking about his life in the other world and hands his nephew a notebook filled with memories. After reading it, the nephew becomes emotional because every page is filled with painful experiences and suffering. A few days later, they move into the same apartment. The nephew comes up with an idea. Since his uncle can use real magic, why not upload videos of it online? That's how they start creating content on YouTube and slowly begin earning money. One thing before we end. If you enjoy fantasy and comedy, this is definitely an anime you shouldn't skip. The story keeps getting funnier, more exciting, and full of unexpected twists with every new part. I highly recommend giving it a watch, and if you'd like me to explain every part in this same fun and easy style, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment next part. See you in the next part.